Sean Ammett has been on the hunt for mosquitoes and their larvae in Washington County since 2009. Now he's the administrator for the Southwest Mosquito Abatement and Control District in Washington County.
Late August to early September is when all the mosquitoes start coming out. They're also preparing for what you would call hibernation. It's called diapause, but they start preparing for that. So they're out looking for those blood meals. They're getting ready to lay eggs.
Monsoon weather tends to kick off the peak seasons for mosquitoes to start hatching. That's why crews are busier now more than ever.
So our process, we go out and we'll look for the larvae, and then the crew will actually treat the larvae right then and at that moment.
If they find mosquito larvae, they treat the water using either a bacterial product or a surfactant that will kill the pupa. Ammett said, however, they have seen an invasive species come in from other surrounding states through potting soils.
So it kind of probably came up through the mulch and potting soil that's sold through local nurseries here. Every instance where we found them, we've also found that they've been doing a lot of landscaping in those yards.
Ammett says while there are limited reports of mosquitoes right now, that could soon change. And so could the risk of getting bit and contracting the diseases they can carry, like West Nile virus.
Up north, there's northern Utah, there's been quite a bit of West Nile already detected in the mosquito pools and populations up there. Here we have yet to find any this year. But as things cool down, of course, those birds are going to start migrating, and if they are sick as they're migrating down, they'll stop here. Our mosquitoes will feed on them, and then we will start finding them. So this is the peak of our season mosquito-wise, but it's also peak of the season for the disease.
Ammett says each mosquito can lay up to 100 eggs per cycle and can have up to 4 cycles before dying.
For like a female, typical female, they'll emerge, they'll breed, then they'll find a blood meal, then they will just sit and rest for a few days, letting that kind of digest and develop. Then they'll lay their eggs, then they'll start the whole process again. So they can do that, 3 or 4 times in a life.
And as the mosquito population explodes, so are their feeding habits.
Just the females need the blood for production of the eggs, so they're the only ones that bite. Then they can't find enough food, so then they'll start looking for humans or horses, and that's when we'll get the disease. But again, we can't pass it on. But
residents are encouraged to know how to evade these pesky and potentially deadly little insects.
If you don't want to cover up with long sleeves and pants, then definitely put on some kind of bug spray. 30% DEET is effective. There's some people that think that don't want to use that particular products, so they'll use more organic or natural stuff.
Ammett says if you do get bit by a mosquito that was a carrier of West Nile, you may have flu-like symptoms.
You could have fever, you could have respiratory issues, you could have kind of a brain fog. Most healthy people won't even know they have it. It's mostly, the aged people, with lower immune systems.
Mosquitoes can usually be found anywhere there is standing water. Mosquito abatement control crews also set traps near waterways overnight to capture them. These 5-gallon buckets are used to attract the mosquitoes by shining light and emitting carbon dioxide or CO2 as an attractant.
What we'll do is we'll set our traps, usually Monday, Tuesday nights. We'll pick those up the next morning, and then we have somebody who sorts the mosquitoes from the rest of the bugs that we find.
Any mosquitoes brought back to the lab in these traps are then randomly tested for West Nile virus or other dangerous diseases they may carry.
The ones that carry disease we'll put in little vials, and then we'll bring them in here in the lab. We'll put a couple of BBs in it as well as some liquid, and then we'll end up crushing those mosquitoes up.
The substance is then checked for DNA to see if it has the variables present. There are about 21 species of mosquitoes in Washington County. So far, no mosquitoes carrying West Nile virus have been reported this year.
We also do test for things like St. Louis encephalitis and Western equine encephalitis.
Abbott says people should check their yards for standing water or buckets that may attract them.
We can do what we call a spot fog, so just that backyard or that area. And the mosquitoes have to kind of fly through that, so it'll only take about 5 minutes for that to dissipate. But if there's any adult mosquitoes flying around, usually we'll get those.
And pool owners should also be aware, as they produce a moist, cool shade similar to this swamp area.
If you have a pool cover and you have it rolled up, there's a little splash catch guard. People don't realize that that can collect leaves and water and rain, and that will always seem to have mosquitoes in those.
Ammett says to call the district and report any mosquito concerns.
We actually appreciate the calls if people are seeing mosquitoes, because we can't get in every yard, we can't get around the whole county until somebody calls us. Then we can come out. And it's, of course, a free service. You've already paid for it.
All property owners in Washington County pay a small fee to have this special service district. The Mosquito Abatement and Control Program works closely with the health department so they can coordinate with the public on any potential dangers in the area.
If they come across like a human case, then they can share kind of the general area of where that might have been picked up, and then we can go and treat that area.
In Washington County, Melissa Anderson, Community Education News.